let's go. Batter up. We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game, today. The fans are out to get a ticket or two. From Walla Walla, Washington to Kalamazoo. It's a beautiful day for a home run, but even a triple's okay. We're gonna cheer and boo and raise a hullabaloo at the ball game today.
Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Thursday, February 9th. The weekend is almost here. Looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to it that I actually had to write down notes on what I wanted to talk to you guys about for this weekend. Obviously, this weekend is the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't have a horse in this race. I mentioned last week, I just want to see a really good game. I really enjoy games sometimes that don't involve my teams, but I get really nervous just because the game is so good. That's how I know it's a really good game. And that's what I want to happen this weekend. So let's see what happens. Obviously, congratulations, LeBron James, new NBA all-time scoring leader, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think last week I was probably a little sulky in regards to LeBron, but I was pretty happy for him. I was happy to see that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there, and it's just a nice moment at Staples Center last night. I think my one complaint was that the Lakers didn't win, but that's starting to become the standard for them, unfortunately, these days. Let's see, Saturday night, I am going to the LA Kings versus the Pittsburgh Penguins at Staples Center. That's what I call it. I don't know. I keep forgetting the new name. Crypto.com Arena. But I am going to Staples Center to go see the Kings play the Penguins. Dustin Brown, the two-time Stanley Cup captain, champion, whatever you want to call it, is getting his jersey retired, lifted up to the rafters, along with the other Kings Hall of Famers and greats. He's getting a statue. I don't know where the statue is. The Kings haven't released too many details of what's going to happen Saturday night. The only thing they're telling us is the game is at 7:30, and they want us in our seats by 6 o'clock. So usually when they tell us that means they don't start the event till like 6:30. But I'm hoping there might be like maybe a Kings reunion of some of the guys from the Stanley Cup team. It's already been 10 years since they won that first cup, so a lot of time has passed. It's going to be a really exciting night. Personally, for me, it'll probably be pretty emotional. Let's see. What else do I got going here? Seriously, I had to write notes here. Hobby-wise. So before I talk about what's coming up this weekend, I want to tell you what happened last weekend. I went to the Long Beach Coin Expo, which I mentioned to you guys, has a small section in the back that's devoted to sports cards. And like I've always said, there's always 3 or 4 vintage sellers that are there, and it's a really good show. Well, this year, the first show for this year, it was really good. I would say there were 6, 7, maybe 8 guys selling vintage, several new sellers there. And I'm happy to report to you, and I still don't have the card in hand, Ashish J. I know him from Facebook. I remember I used to see him on Facebook. He was at the show for the first time, and he had a 1957 Brooks Robinson, the last card I needed to finish that set. Unfortunately, that card was at the Houston Card Show where his son was selling this past weekend. So he showed me a picture of the card. It was a 4.5 SGC. We were able to negotiate a deal, and I left a $100 deposit just because we don't have the card yet. So Ashish is going to be at the Burbank show this weekend, and that's where we're going to finish the deal. So I'm pretty excited about that. But there were other great sellers there. Some shout outs also. I met several YouTubers. My first round of meeting YouTubers, so it was kind of neat to see these guys who I've seen on YouTube, actually in person. Big shout out to George, Diamond Yard Sports Cards. Let me hang out with him for 2 or 3 days. Gave me advice actually on the Brooks Robinson card. I showed him the card, a photo of it. He gave me his thoughts, so that really helped. Met Josh, rated rookie. That was really neat because I've seen so many of his videos. So it was just great to meet him in person. And I also met John Paparazzi, as he's known, talking ball cards. Got to meet him. He also helped me out with the Brooks Robinson card. So that was great. We were all hanging out in front of George's table. George's table on Thursday, that guy was rocking. He had tons of people around him, and he had a lot of good stuff for sale. And hopefully he had a good weekend of selling cards. But it was great to meet those guys. Yeah, thanks so much for letting me hang again. So that was a really fun card show. I didn't walk away with any cards because I bought the Brooks Robinson card, but really excited. Which brings me up to this weekend, Burbank Card Show. I'm going to be out there for sure Friday. I believe I'm going to be out there Saturday for part of the day. Like I said, I have to go to the Kings game that night. And Ontario is a good probably 50, 60 miles away from Staples Center. So going to go there, going to see who's out there. I'm looking for a 1941 play ball, maybe some Hall of Fame cards. I'm really hoping I could find, I doubt this will happen because it didn't happen at the last Burbank Card Show, but I'd love to see if there's somebody out there just selling ungraded lots, 50s and 60s cards. Hopefully I can get my hands on some of those. So looking forward to that. If you're going to be at the show and you see my mug, come up and say hi. I don't have enough subscribers, so I highly doubt anyone will come up and say hi. But in case you have happened to see me before and you're at the Burbank Card Show, I'd love to meet up with you, and we could talk some cards and we could walk up and down the aisle. So I'm always looking for feedback just because I don't have that many friends who collect cards. I have one local friend, but he thinks everything's too expensive, so it's hard to show him. So when the Brooks Robinson card came up, like I said, I went over to George and John, and I actually also texted Terry, TJ Mack, Vintage and Nostalgia, because I needed some feedback, and having their feedback really helped out. I've heard that before from other YouTubers, take advantage of the community, because if someone else can give you, like, I appreciate it if someone says to me, I don't like that card, I don't think you should buy it, and here's why I don't think you should buy it. Or, yeah, that's a great card, I think you should buy it. And they tell me the reasons why they like it. It really does help, like, confirm or reaffirm your thoughts on purchasing the cards. So, like I said, looking forward to this Burbank Card Show and seeing what happens. So what are we going to talk about today? What am I going to show you? I've got to show you cards. So a few weeks ago, I did an episode of, I presented to you 5 left-handers, 7th game of the World Series. Who do you got? And I like doing that a lot. So this time I thought I'm going to turn the tables a little, and I'm going to have 6 left-handed batters in this case. That's total coincidence. I need a base hit. I need to win the game. Regular season game, World Series game, All-Star game, playoff game, whatever. I need to win the game, and I need to bring someone in with a hit to get me a hit. So let's turn the camera around, and I'm going to show you guys who I got. All right, so camera's turned around. What I went ahead and did was pick 3 National Leaguers, 3 American Leaguers. So I'll alternate, kind of treat this like a all-star type situation. So the first card I'm going to bring up is the 1967 Topps Pete Rose. Pete Rose was the all-time hit leader, 4,256. He has 3 batting titles from 1968, 1969, and 1973. He had 11 200-hit seasons. That's the highest from anyone on this list that I'm about to present to you, by the way. 1973 MVP, 1963 Rookie of the Year, 17-time All-Star. The reason I picked this card is this is one of the cards I still have from my original collection. I I would say I kept maybe 100 cards from my original collection. And a lot of us tend to talk about, oh, I had that card, and God, if I had kept it, it would have been worth a lot of money. You know, if Mom hadn't thrown away my cards, or if I hadn't thrown away my cards. And I do this honestly, but lately I've been thinking and looking at this Rose and looking at a couple of the other cards I had. My original cards, they weren't in very good condition. I had a tendency of playing with my cards. They were all over like a linoleum floor. They were on their, face down, back down, or, other cards on top of them. I'd step on them. I'd throw them in a box. I'd take them to school. So sometimes I have to remind myself when I say, gosh, I used to have this card. I used to have that card when I was a kid. A lot of my cards weren't really in good condition. So that's something to think about when you're fretting that you got rid of your old original collection. So I have this Pete Rose card from 1967. Love the uniforms they had back then. And there's the back. So that is and again, these are in no particular order, but this is one of my candidates for who I need to get a base hit from with the game on the line. Second candidate is going to be Wade Boggs. And Wade Boggs, 5 batting titles, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 1988, 7 200-hit seasons, including 240 hits in 1985, 3,010 career hits, an 8-time Silver Slugger, 12-time All-Star. Going back to that 8-time Silver Slugger, that award did not begin until 1980. So you're going to see a lot of the older players, they won't even have a Silver Slugger to their credit. And I picked this card just because I wanted to show off a different card other than the typical 83 rookie card. And I don't have very many modern cards. So I picked this Wade Boggs card from 1984. That's a good looking card. I tend to say that on all my cards, so you guys already know that. Okay, number 3 on my list. Who do I need to get a base hit from? Yeah, if you're going to pick Wade Boggs, you're also going to pick Tony Gwynn. 8 batting titles. 1984, 1987, 1988, 1989, 1994, 1995, 1996, and 1997. His batting average in 1994 was .394. So 6 points away from the magical 400. He had 5 200-hit seasons, 3,141 career hits, a 7-time Silver Slugger, and a 15-time All-Star. And in this case, I did choose his rookie card, probably because I just never have shown this card off. I have 2 of these. I have a 9 off-centered, and I have a 6. And I do like that 83 set. Kind of reminds me of the 1963 set where they've got the big photo, the profile photo. It's nice, though. So that's Tony Gwynn. Okay, now from the American League. I've shown 2 National Leaguers, 1 American Leaguer. From the American League, the next guy I'm going to look to get a base hit from, oh yeah, Rod Carew. Hit them where they ain't. 7 batting titles, 1969, 1972, 1973, 1974, 1975, 1977, 1978. His 1977 batting average was .388. Surprisingly, he only had 4 200-hit seasons, including 239 hits in 1977. In looking at Carew's incredible stats, one thing I did notice was he never played 162 games in a season. He has a lot of 140, 145, and in some cases even only like 120 games played in a season. So he definitely probably had his injuries here and there. I know later in his career the Twins moved him to first base. If I didn't say 1977 MVP, 1967 AL Rookie of the Year, 3,053 career hits, and an 18-time All-Star. Now, going back to the Pete Rose card that I showed you, I owned a 1968 Rod Carew when I was a kid, and it was a beater. It looked like it had gone through the washing machine at least a few times. So in picking up this, and that's kind of like, again, proves my point in that some of these cards that we have when we're kids are real pieces of crap, so to speak. And when we're old enough, we go ahead and buy nicer, cleaner, newer versions of these cards. And I don't know if I'll ever own the rookie card, so I do like this card from 1968. All right, now the next two, since we're dealing more with older players, I'm going to talk a little bit more about their All-Star appearances, just because the All-Star games seem to be a little bit more symbolic back in these guys' era. So the next guy from the National League who I'm looking to get a base hit from, of course, Stan the Man Musial. 7 batting titles: 1943, 1946, 1948, 1950, 1951, 1952, and 1957. 3,630 career hits, 6 200-hit seasons, 3-time MVP, 1943, 1946, and 1948. And since I'm doing this National League, American League format, Stan was a 24-time All-Star. His 72 plate appearances tied for second with Hank Aaron, and only behind Willie Mays with 82. He has 20 hits in his All-Star game career, and that's second behind Mays with 23. Once again, back then, in the early 60s, there were sometimes 2 All-Star games in a season, and players tended to play 7 or 8 innings back then, sometimes even full games, as opposed to players today that get 1 at bat and then they leave. And I picked up this 1953 Bowman Color last year. That's a beautiful set. If I had the mantle, I would consider starting this set. So I don't think there's one ugly card in this set, but I really like this Stan Musial card. And my final candidate for who I need to get a base hit. I need to win this game. Yeah, it's going to be Ted Williams. I gotta throw Ted in the mix here. 6 batting titles: 1941, 1942, 1947, 1948, 1957, and 1958. 406 batting average in 1941, a 388 batting average in 1957. I honestly didn't know this next stat. 2 Triple Crowns, 1942 and 1947. Now, what's interesting in doing research for this, it was that Ted won the MVP twice in 1946 and 1949. Now, we all know he hit 406 in 1941, but Joe DiMaggio and his 56-game hitting streak, the writers felt was a little bit more valuable, so Ted finished in second. Now, in 1942, again, Ted won the Triple Crown, but Joe Gordon of the Yankees, who the writers thought was a better all-around player, won the MVP in 1942. So when Williams hit for the Triple Crown in 1947, he once again finished in second place MVP balloting to Joe DiMaggio. This brings up a question, if there's anyone out there who knows a lot about Ted Williams, who's read about him. Was Ted Williams really only considered a great hitter? Did they not talk about his fielding, or did he not have a great throwing arm? I'll be honest, every time I talk about Ted Williams, it seems to be about his hitting. So if there's someone out there who's a Ted Williams expert, help me out. Was he not a great all-around ball player, or was he just a great hitter? Going back to All-Star games, 19-time All-Star, 57 plate appearances, in 4th place, obviously behind Willie Mays. 14 hits in the All-Star game, and he was tied for 3rd with Nellie Fox in that category. And as I mentioned earlier, Willie Mays, 1920, had 23 hits. And I know Ted Williams also had a game-winning home run in the All-Star game. Now, this card, some of you have heard this story before. I've had this card since I was about 14. my brother had a friend whose dad collected baseball cards. And one night he came to my house and he brought a shoebox full of cards. And he wouldn't really let me look at the cards, but he started taking cards out, and one of them being this Ted Williams. Another one was a 1955 Sandy Koufax. Another one was a 1955 Roberto Clemente. And I was just sitting there going, amazing. And, you know, he was talking about, oh, let me talk to my dad to see if he'll sell them to you. It never got anywhere. But when he did show me the cards, the one great thing that happened was he noticed he had 2 Ted Williams cards. So he gave me this one. And I was through the moon. I was ecstatic and held on to it all this time. About 5 or 6 years ago, I submitted it to PSA in my one only submission. It got a 1. I don't care. I've had this card, like I said, since I was 14. Absolutely love it. The 1955 Topps Ted Williams. Yeah, it looks like someone taped this up here now looking at it, but I don't care. I still love this card. All right, so those are my 6 candidates. We need to get a base hit. Game's on the line. Who am I going to put in there? Carew, Musial, Ted Williams, Wade Boggs, Pete Rose, Tony Gwynn. Who do you have? Let me know in the comments. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.